let's move straight to the economy. And the very first person, like I said, we're getting straight to the representative of the people, the National Association of Nigerian Traders. I have Ijoma Anuforo, who is the PRO. Ijoma, hi.
For the first time under the current dispensation, programs like the trader money and the market money were introduced. And though the programs were bedeviled by politicization and bad implementation and other challenges, at least it was a little recognition of the significance of traders to the economy. Come 2023, if elected president, sir, what would you do with these instruments? Or whatever other plans do you have for traders who prior to this time have been very marginalized, were hardly part of the government's social investment programs or intervention programs, and we are the heartbeat of the Nigerian nation.
All right. Thank you, Ijoma.
I think the defect in the system is not incorporating the system into an institutionalized process. Because what I understood, trader money and market women were either the vice president going around distributing money or the minister of humanitarian affairs going around and distributing money. Why not create institutions that can actually attend to every sector of the economy as far as this market, money market or trader market is concerned? You have, like we said, we are going to vote 10 billion to boost, small and medium enterprises. We have a number of institutions where such funding can be channeled so that it is institutionalized instead of personalizing it and also using it for political, purposes. Because currently market money, trader money has become political tools, to promote political interests of a particular political party.
Would you be scrapping all those?
No. What I'm saying is that they should be incorporated into an institutionalized, institution so that it survives every government that comes in.
So she was talking about the traders not properly integrated into the system. And she said that
because there is no institution. If you have an institution to cater for that, the institution will be able to give everybody guidelines. This is how you assess these funds, and this is how long it is going to take you to repay them, and so on and so forth.
All right. There is the representative of the Nigerian Manufacturers Association, and that association nationwide is going to be represented by the chairman of the Abuja chapter, and Kayode Alonge. Kayode, what is coming from the Nigerian Manufacturers Association? Kayode.
Thank you so much, Your Excellencies. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, it's a very strategic, group that helps to, run the economy productively. Over the years, the manufacturing sector has witnessed a lot of challenges, and most importantly, of interest is the challenges of a shortage of FX supply. We have had situations where factories have had to shut down because they are not able to pay, for the purchase of equipment, that are coming from overseas. Some also have the challenges of being able to make payments for some other kind of inputs that are required for their steady operation. Before now,
so can you go straight to the question?
Yeah,
because of time.
Yeah, the question is that as it is today, we have multiple exchange rates being operated. The gap has continued to increase between the CBN rate and the parallel market rate. This is hurting the manufacturing sector. Your Excellency would like to know, in the event that your party is elected, come February 2023, we want to know what you would like to do differently to address the shortage of FS supply and the decline of the value of Naira.
Thank you so much, Kaudi. I appreciate it. The Manufacturer Association.
I happen to be a member.
So you know the problems?
Yes, because some of my factories get closed for 2 months or so because we can't get raw materials and so on. First of all, I will direct the central bank to stop multiple exchange rates so that we close the gap we know. And then, of course, secondly, how do we also encourage foreign investors, to bring in forex from abroad? I think is very, very key as far as that challenge is concerned. So basically, if you are able to do that, you will then make available as much foreign exchange as possible. You may not have enough to cover everybody, but at least you will get, most of the industries or factories working. First of all, by making sure that you have only a dual exchange rate, not multiple exchange rate, as we currently have. Because the multiple exchange rate regime is corrupted, because the people who desire the foreign exchange don't get it. So I think this is a very, serious flaw. So this
perhaps as a follow-up, since you're a member of the Manufacturers Association, but I'm perhaps as worried as a lot of Nigerians at the parity of the Nigerian to the dollar, for example. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, over 700 naira to the dollar now.
Unless you abolish, the multiple exchange rate regime, you cannot get, a realistic exchange rate.
How low can you bring it? Should you become president?
It's not a question of how low I can bring it, but it is a mechanism by the central bank. All what I need to do is direct the central bank, look, I want this forex, this dual exchange rate, finish.
Okay. Let me quickly also take a short break, and when we come back, we continue on the issue of the economy. There is a group that is very bothered about the subsidy regime, and we will also hear from a very popular Nigerian comedian about the plans of the PDP and in their manifesto, if they have anything to cater for the entertainment industry. They say that they play a major role in that industry. Ali Baba also will be asking his question as a member of the entertainment industry, and much more on the People's Townhall. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much indeed, everyone, to the People's Townhall. Don't forget, you can be part of the conversation. The nation is talking about what interests Nigeria at this moment, very critical moment, and who has the capacity to do it. And that's why we're engaging the candidates and their political parties on their manifesto and agenda. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Senator Ifeanyi has been on the stage for the last hour, and economy is taking our attention. I'd like to bring in Faith Nwa-Dishi. She is an official of PEL, which is a program of the UK office, and a question is about the issue of subsidy. I know you have a lot of questions on subsidy. Faith, shoot the best one.
Thank you so much, Your Excellencies. Good evening. I work with the Center for Transparency Advocacy and not PEL. I'm a member of the Coalition for Subsidy Reform. Your Excellencies, we have spent so far over $15 billion in addressing the issue of subsidy, yet we don't have petroleum products in the country. If elected president of the country, what will you do differently to address the issue of subsidy, considering that it is an integral part of the sustenance of our economy? What will you do differently? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Faith. Subsidy. Anything you plan to do differently?
Yeah, I have already announced that we are going to remove subsidy. And then, of course, negotiate with all stakeholders on how we can, establish palliatives, for removing subsidy. And in fact, whether we decide to remove subsidy or not, based on the Petroleum Industry Act, by June next year, subsidy will have to stop, even by our law, which has been passed by the National Assembly. But as far back as last election season, I announced I was going to remove subsidy. And of course, then negotiate with stakeholders how we would alleviate the sufferings, that will be encountered by the masses who may be affected, particularly the vulnerable. So basically, this is our approach, and that is what we are going to implement.
All right.
You want to add something?
Yeah, I think that my presidential candidate has spoken about that severally, and the very important aspect is that a lot part of our economy is also suffering because of this continuous fuel subsidy, beyond the fact that the administration of the fuel subsidy regime is something that has to be looked into. But the real question is, education is suffering, health services is suffering, and these two areas are very critical to the larger majority of Nigerians who are in the lower poverty rung. And it's important that we actually begin to free funds to address issues of education, to address issues on health, so that we can provide health to a larger majority of our people and provide education for our children, and ensure that we're able to develop every Nigerian to such an extent that they're able to freely compete for themselves and be able to take care of themselves. So subsidy removal is what an Atiku Abubakar government has already proposed, even before this current electionary season. And I believe that it's very important for our nation, because we cannot even afford to continue to provide the subsidy, because we don't even have the fund to provide the subsidy. If you watch the 2023 budget and even the 2022 budget, you realize that something is fundamentally wrong with the budget of this nation. We cannot afford to continue to borrow funds, continue to borrow, and you'll continue to subsidize. So as the subsidy is being removed, every process is also going to be put in place to ensure that we're able to grow the refining capacity of our nation, and that is already fully documented in my covenant with Nigerians.
I also need to remind Nigerians that when we were in office between 1999 and 2007, we had proposed to remove subsidy in 4 stages. As chairman of the Economic Council, I supervised and implemented phase 1, phase 2. By the time we got to phase 3, it was suspended. If we had gone with that program, by the time we left office, there wouldn't have been any more subsidy for any government to inherit. But unfortunately, if you recall, we had a dialogue with the NLC then, headed by Adams, and they gave us all what they needed, public transportation, blah, 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 and we provided all that. And then we started removing the subsidy. I removed phase 1, I removed phase 2, but then we got stuck. And even when subsequent governments came, instead of them to continue with that program, it got hijacked. What they call, what is it? In public service?
Because public service is one area that you perhaps will touch on. But just to let you know that we're monitoring what is happening on social media. Chukwu Ebuka M. Anaibo on Facebook. Your question, which we're asking, can a presidential candidate give his take on subsidy and use of multiple foreign exchange pegs in the economy? I guess your question has been answered. Let's listen to yet another economy-related question, this time around about the creative and the entertainment industry. This is one coming from Alibaba, one of Nigeria's leading stand-up comedians. Take a listen to his question.
The second question, sir, Your Excellency, is You know that the creative industry worldwide can provide an add to the GDP. It can help to balance out exchange rates. It can provide employment. It can improve quality of life. It can also make sure that the culture and history of the people preserved and improved upon. What would your administration do that would be different from what all other administrations have done?
In 2019, I was in Lagos and had even a written agreement with the creative industry. Unfortunately, I didn't win that election. This year, a few weeks ago, precisely I think 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with the creative industry again in Lagos. There is no doubt it is virtually second to agriculture as far as, employment opportunities are concerned. Agriculture has the highest rate of employment opportunities for our people, followed by creative industry. It's a very, very important sector of our economy. And we had a robust engagement in Lagos not quite 2 weeks ago. And again, I committed myself to really supporting the creative industry to make sure that they play even a bigger role than they are playing today. So that is the assurance I can give you. And I think nobody has been quite in the forefront as far as the creative industry is concerned than myself. I don't think any of my contemporaries in this race have engaged the creative industries as much as I have engaged them both in 2019 and also this year. So you can be rest assured that you have a friend in the Aso Rock.
All right. There seems to be a mix-up. There was a question before this one. I think we played the second one before the first. If there is opportunity to play the very first question from Ali Baba, can we play it now?
As the presidential candidate of your party and the former vice president, I would like to know, what are the challenges that people are having in the creative sector and the creative industry that is restricting the growth of the sector?
I think support from government and funding. The only administration that has tried to fund the creative industry was the PDP administration of President Jonathan by allocating 100 billion for the creative industry. And that 100 billion was not even assessed by the creative industry. So again, the future of the creative industry is by electing another PDP government. Not only are we going to increase the funding as far as the creative industry is concerned, but that we are going to make sure that it is accessible to every member or organization of the creative industry based on the process and the procedure.
All right. Let's take another economic-related question. Celestine is standing by. Hi, Celestine.
Yeah, good evening. Okay, Your Excellencies, I have a political economic question centered around poverty. As you know, the recent data from NBS is showing more than 133 million Nigerians dwelling in multi-dimensional poverty. It means it goes beyond the liquid cash, but access to water and others. As we assume office in 2023, God willing, please can you lay down concrete sectorial approach to this beyond market money and others?
Thank you, Celestine.
Well, Celestine, unfortunately, whichever sector you take requires money. And first and foremost, we have to increase, our funding of education. Education is basic. We have tried to do that when we came into office by establishing Universal Basic Education Authority, by introducing education tax. Nigerians are paying education tax, and we are channeling those money or revenue to states and local governments. And there is also counterpart funding by both, the federal government. In other words, if states, fund more money, or of course they access more money from the federal government and also international donor agencies. So I think basically the buck stops at the states and local governments, whereby we need to make sure that we encourage states and local governments to invest more in education, because it is a concurrent issue, in our constitution. The federal government is at the top, and all what it can do is to make sure that it, creates the environment and it provides the necessary resource support to the lower levels of government, that is the states and the local governments. I think this is where we must pay attention to and make sure that the funding is really invested in education, unlike what is currently now taking place. Some states government cannot even access the counterpart funding because they are not funding as much as required by either legislation or even convention. So that's the only way we can make sure that the educational sector gets a boost.
There are a few questions coming from the social media, and this is Ernest Onuoha at Ernest Onuoha on Twitter, and he's asking, said, to Riki of Adamawa, according to MBS, there are 130 million multidimensional poor Nigerians today. What policies will you introduce to cut the poverty index by 50% in 4 years? You've answered that. There is another question coming from Facebook, and I understand that there are a lot of questions in this respect also. This is from Jamilu Momodu. He says, why is Atiku fixated on selling national assets that other government built with taxpayers' money? Is he not a builder? So if you can, you answer the first one, obviously.
Yes, I have answered the four. I'm not fixated, but I think that is best for the country. Let's be honest with ourselves. We have 4 refineries. They have ceased functioning, I don't know for how many years today. And every year we budget money for overhauling the refineries, refineries that don't work. Please, let's give it to the private sector. In every great nation in this country, you find that it is the private sector that is the driver of the economy. They provide the jobs, they provide the prosperity, they do everything. Why should we be different? I'm not fixated. If you feel that is the best for you, for God's sake, go and elect somebody who can come and leave them moribund. They are not working, and then you are spending money on them. Tell me how they benefit the community or the society. Today, if I sell those 4 refineries, I will do so much. Somebody was asking me, how am I going?
Fund MSME.
How am I going to fund it? I'm going to get more than 10 billion. And I will fund the SMEs, which will give funding to the young men and women who want to set up their own enterprises and promote employment and promote prosperity in the community and in the country.